Hello, this is Annette with Project Refine Life. Welcome to my channel and this tag to Silvia at Fairlight Tarot. I was tagged by both Silvia and Sharon at Trio of Witches, and the tag is Beloved Monster Decks. Silvia came up with these really cool questions that has to do with horror movies or Halloween type movies. The first question is the Frankenstein, a collage deck that is misunderstood but has a heart of gold. The Moonlit Hermit. I think, guys, this is really misunderstood and really overlooked. This is such a brilliant deck. I really, really love this deck. All the cards are created by razor cut construction. All these images are just various sources that he gathered, and then he assembled them and photographed them one by one, and then the backs are all construction paper. So this is really, really a true Frankenstein deck where everything is just kind of pieced together from here and there and everywhere. But just brilliant, brilliant art. I really love the art. Sometimes you see people's actual pictures in there, and when you see their faces in there, it's always a little funny. Like there's always something kind of peculiar going on within the deck, but it is a great, great reader. The guidebook has enough detail to really dig into the heart of the matter when it comes to the meaning of the card. It's not a huge guidebook, but it definitely gets the job done, and it really is a misunderstood deck because it's really good, guys. It's really good. I really like this deck. I love the punch of colors within it, and then you have that depth, that darkness with the black background. It's a brilliant deck. The Dracula, a deck that is sensual and sophisticated. For this, I chose the She-Wolf Tarot. I don't have a lot of, well, I know I have a lot of decks with nudity in them, but not a lot of decks that are actually sensual. So this is sensual and definitely sophisticated. For one, this guidebook is, I think, 187, let me see here, 184 pages long. This guidebook digs into the art, astrological symbols or signs. It gets into the light and the shadow aspect of each deck, but yet she keeps the images simplified so that you can really focus on the images and the meaning of each card. And it is a true sophisticated journey into like this spiritual exploration and understanding and connecting with yourself. And then on top of it all, see, I can't even say it, I'm getting all excited. Each one has a mantra, which is a wonderful way to kind of really instill whatever that particular card meant to tell you, to use that mantra, to work with that mantra, so that way you are really pulling in the actual meaning of the card and working with the meaning. If you pull one of these cards and just repeat that mantra throughout the day or throughout the week, however it is, the amount of time that you do readings in between readings or whatever, it is a really powerful thing to do that. And that lends just like this bit of sophistication. I love this deck. It is just so darn good. And I really held off on this deck for a long time because I just wasn't sure that I needed this one. I had bought the Lioness Oracle Tarot, and I thought, I don't need these other two decks by Daphne Amber Wolf. And then I got the Serpent Fire, and then I thought, oh, okay, I have to get the other one too. This is an incredible work. It really is. If you look past just, if you look this, you think, oh, okay, it's pretty simple. It's really not. It's a pretty sophisticated deck, and it really does dig into that interconnectedness and trying to guide you through, and just working with healing and this sense of self. The Werewolf, a deck that is best used in a full moon. I just worked with this deck for the full moon that we just had, the full moon in Taurus. And this is one of like my all-time favorite decks. This is the El Goliath Tarot. This deck, oh my goodness. Again, there are some decks where I am just overwhelmed by the beauty, the artistry, the ability to draw these beautiful images. This deck took Goliath 4 years, and I can imagine that during that 4 years he was just into this deck. The guidebook, oh my goodness, the guidebook is a work of art within itself. This deck truly does demonstrate and illuminate the darkness and the capacity that you have, and working with it during the full moons is perfection. To me, it is just perfection, because you are dealing with this fullness of life and really kind of shedding light on the shadow and the shamanic work that you can put into it. This thing is seriously, this is a work of art. This is genius level, wonderful, beautiful deck. If you have this deck and you've put it away, take it out, work with it again. It is the perfect time of year to work with this deck. It is just beyond beautiful and beyond genius level. He has a mind that is just crazy. And then in addition to that, he also provides like these like additional cards, which I kind of use as like the guiding reference. I don't really have too many oracles that I would work alongside this deck with because of the nature of this deck. And then it also comes with a yes and no. And I just kind of keep these separate. And one of these cards is kind of really what I use for the focus or the main like wrap up, or maybe something that my ancestors or elders want me to know. But guys, if you don't have this deck, or if you have this deck and it's sitting on one of your shelves, take it out, work with it, because it is the perfect season for it. The Grim Reaper is a deck that feels very final and unmovable. And for this, I chose the Brady Tarot. This, again, oh my goodness. You see, guys, these artists are just amazing. This deck is just, look at this. Look at the beauty in this deck. Now, some people get a little weirded out by this deck because it is a true cycle of life. And within the cycle of life, there is birth and there is death. And it continues. It is an ever-going cycle. And this deck really puts its hand on it so well. And at times within this particular deck, within the art that is displayed, there is definite finality. You know, there is no coming back from that. But it is just stunningly beautiful. And then the guidebook, of course, is just another work of art with beautiful words from Rachel Pollack. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, a deck that loves water but isn't afraid of getting dirty. For this, I chose the Tarot of the Drowning World. And this was a really hard choice for me because I kind of went back and forth with the Somnia Tarot and this deck here, but ultimately I went with this one. This deck is completely and 100% water-based. Everything in this deck has been photographed while floating or within the water. Every single scene, every single thing. This is not manipulated. These are actual pictures. Everything was set up one by one. Intense what an intense undertaking to make this deck. But this deck is so deep. It's so beautiful. You read the guidebook, it's a Marseille style or inspired deck, and it is just beautiful. It is not afraid to dish you some dirt. And sometimes you don't even understand. I've said this over and over again. You don't even understand all that's going on within the deck. And sometimes you really have to ponder, wait a minute, you know, like, what exactly is happening here? And what exactly, how does that message really relate to me? And how do I work with that? How do I pull from the muck of that particular message or that particular image, and how do I work with that? Where do I go with that? This deck is perfect for that. Just an awesome and beautiful, beautifully created, and I just can't even understand how some people's minds work, where they're like, we're going to set up this pool and then we're going to float in the water, and then everything else is going to float in the water. We're going to set up dishes with like fruits, and we're going to put cups, and like, oh my gosh, who thinks like that? I certainly don't, but I enjoy that other people have the capacity to do so. The Freddy Krueger, a scruffy deck that has a terrifying sense of humor. I went back and forth on this particular choice, but ultimately I landed with the Deviant Moon because this deck truly does have a truly like terrifying sense of humor. If you look at some of the things that are going on within this deck, like here on the Four of Cups, no, they push the cup over. It's like, you know what? I'm done with you. But some of the other images here, it's like, wow, you really have to look, and you can see the sense of humor, but it is a bit frightening when you think about it. You're like, wow, that is just awful. And I'm looking for some that, I mean, it's filled with these images, but you really do have to kind of look into it. Here, she's going to go ahead and swallow that knife. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but yeah, this is just filled with a terrifying, absolutely terrifying sense of humor. And this is another deck that I really have to be ready to work with. It's not just, this is beyond cheeky. This is something else. The Chucky, a doll-like deck that may stab you in the back. Okay, I don't have all the doll decks. I don't have those because it's really not my cup of tea. But I do have this one. And this one, when I first got the deck, I did work with it a bit. And then since then, I just bring it out every now and again. Not very often. I won't get rid of it, but it's just not one that's in my rotation all that often. And I find that when I have worked with it in the past, I love the fact that it has all these little geckos in the deck. But when I have worked with it in the past, that it just does not hold back. That image is just so pretty to me. I love this one. I love it. Isn't it gorgeous? Look at that. But yeah, this does not hold back. And this is one that's going to be like, I'll take you down if I have to. If you don't get the message lightly, then you will get it any way that I need to deliver the message to you. So yeah, I don't work with it that often. It kind of freaks me out a little bit, to be perfectly honest with you. So the Zombie, an airy deck that is hungry for brains. For this, I chose the Tildwick Tarot because this deck, you have to be ready to dig in and to explore with this deck. This deck has all these little hidden type of like messages within the art itself. And this is the one that I think is a little bit darker. There's a newer edition, I believe, that is a little bit lighter. So yeah, this is the second edition that is a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit easier to look through the images. I am not quite sure because I don't have that deck, but just the images themselves, the way that they are portrayed, it really does make you take some time and think. So for me, this deck is very much within the air element because it is all thought. You really need to be able to take your time with this deck and give it some brain power. Because if you just look at this image here, the Two of Coins, and you see a hanging plant here, you know, you really need to dig into it. You need to figure out, what is that image trying to tell me? Where am I getting my message there? So for this, I chose the Tildwick, the Pennywise the Clown. Okay, I've never seen Pennywise, but it's described as a deck that is deceivingly whimsical, but is actually very intense. And for this one, I chose the Everyday Witch. This is the version that I have. I have the little mini, and this mini goes with me everywhere. This is in my purse, and it is quite whimsical. But you know, I have used this when we're out and about, and this deck can deliver a very intense and strong message, despite the size, despite the pretty art. It is, it stands up. It really holds up to any message that needs to be delivered, and it is a quite intense little deck, despite what it looks like. But there's some of it I love this Hierophant. Look at that. Yeah, this is the Everyday Witch, and I do not have the larger version, and I understand that it comes with an incredible guidebook, but I have my own little relationship with it, and I love this little mini deck. The Mummy, a deck that is covered in many layers. For this, I chose the Lillifer. This is the brand new edition. I do have the first edition, and I haven't even worked with this one yet. I opened it and I looked through it. It's beautiful. I really do love the Lillifer Tarot, and what she did is she did a few upgrades. Of course, there's some gold foiling in it, but she changed a few things around to make it a little bit easier for people to read versus the first edition. But this deck has so many layers. As a matter of fact, you can purchase, which I didn't get until this time around because I didn't order it the last time. She has a reading cloth, and on this reading cloth, she has all of these correspondence that you can add to your reading. So if I want to just take this deck and just take it as a regular RWS type deck for those meanings, then I can definitely do that. But this little guidebook provides so many layers that you can stack and stack and stack again to add to your reading. And it's really an incredible deck. And I think with the upgrades that she's made, it makes it a lot more easy to understand. One of the things that people had a problem with before, as you can see, there's the elemental symbols, there is the zodiac, and then one of the things that people had a problem, there's the planetary, and one of the things she has a problem with, or there was a problem with, were the numbers. So here now she has the note on the numbers, and she describes that these were inspired by ancient Arabic numbers, and they're very, very important to her. I got to know the numbers, but it's nice to have them included in the guidebook. And once you start working with the deck, then you start remembering what that number is. But it is just filled with all kinds of additional layers that you can use for these readings. And it is truly, truly, I love her work. I really do. I think Marion has a beautiful mind, and I love the way that she portrays these little creatures on her drawings, on her decks. It is a stunning, stunning deck that is filled with layers. And what I love about it is that I can decide whenever I pick up this deck, I can decide if I choose to go deep or if I choose to leave it at a more surface level. I think these are additions, the I know and then I believe on the star and the moon, but anyhow, just a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. And that's it, guys. Those are my beloved monster decks. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tagging me, and thank you so much for watching.